1, 2, 3, think. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3, think. I really don't want to do this, but someone has to point out how just stupid the whole concept of XCOM 2 is. The whole premise behind XCOM 2 and the idea that it's supposed to tie in with XCOM 1. It started XCOM 1. Aliens invade Earth. Earth funds international government organization called XCOM, which fights against these aliens. We don't know why they're invading, but we know they could bomb us out of the sky if they really wanted to, but instead they're fighting us on the ground. Reason being, they are testing us to find people with psionic abilities and to test our capabilities and see if we are worthy hosts. I don't know, at that point you lose me. But they test us of being worthy. If we lost the war, they would kill us, take the best of us maybe, genetically modify us, and turn us into slaves and soldiers, just like they did with every other race before, which is the races you're fighting. The whole idea of XCOM is that you're fighting against the people who came before you and were defeated. The whole question of what would have happened if XCOM had lost, the answer is the stuff that you're fighting against. The answer is not they would create a puppet state and then rule us through humans and make us like them for no apparent reason because they like Earth or something. This whole premise doesn't even make sense within context of the first XCOM game. You can't just simply say, well, this is an alternate universe where XCOM lost, and then cut away everything that was canon in the first XCOM game. You can't say alternate universe and then remove the whole reason why the aliens invaded Earth. That's not how alternate universe is supposed to work. Things are supposed to change because of an event or because things went slightly different, not because characters have completely different reasonings behind their actions. The aliens should still be doing what they are doing for the same reason that they would have done it otherwise, which they are not, because then they wouldn't have kept humanity around. This whole, humanity is controlled by the evil government run by aliens. Why wouldn't they keep us around for 20 years? Yes, in XCOM 1 they control people's minds and will take over the government, but that's only so that they can end the war, then probably take the few best people and murder everyone else. There's no reason for them to keep us around for 20 years, sitting around on Earth and running a secret super organization. This whole premise is broken from the very basis. This premise is obviously not XCOM. It's, hey, I want to fight the power Matrix-ish setup, but I wanna call it XCOM because then I can bank in on the whole XCOM premise, even though it's not at all the XCOM premise. The whole premise behind XCOM is aliens invade Earth, first contact. Doesn't have to be first contact with aliens ever, but first contact with that race of aliens. Humanity unites under the banner of XCOM. XCOM fights against the aliens. Aliens are already here. It's not a first contact. We know these guys. We fought them before. They have been around for 20 years just sitting on our planet for no reason. This is not a first contact story. Humanity is on the side of aliens. You are the rebels and the minority group, and the government is against you. You're not XCOM. You're just some douchebags who are rebelling against the aliens. The whole, you're supposed to be a paramilitary group funded by the world's best soldiers. How is that possible if you are opposing the bright majority of humans? You're not the world's best soldiers, you're just a few guys who feel like fighting. That is just the premise of XCOM 2, which makes no sense. It's completely broken. It's not an XCOM game, not even to XCOM 2012, because it doesn't correlate. The story is completely different. These are not the same aliens, obviously. So, whatever. Moving on from that, the gameplay footage either this wasn't any gameplay, or this game is completely impossible to play, and I cannot believe that any of you people would actually be blind enough to not see this. Every single turn, every single person who dies in that game, quotation marks, died completely out of the control of the player. People had complained about XCOM 2012 when aliens fell out of the sky and went into Overwatch. How the hell are you supposed to play a game where aliens fall out of the sky, 3 at a time, and shoot you guy in the goddamn back? This is not gameplay, and if it is, obviously the makers of this game did not listen to anything that was said about XCOM 2012, because that is not how you design an XCOM game. That's not how you design any strategy game. Any strategy game where the enemy can fall right behind you and shoot you in the back in the same turn is fundamentally broken and not a strategy game anymore. It's a fuck you game. Because the game is just busy fucking you with bullshit that you cannot fight against because there's no way to protect against an enemy spawning right behind you. So, gameplay trailer, completely broken. Next, the premise of XCOM, ignoring XCOM 1 or any other XCOM game, just the premise of the world itself. Okay, aliens invaded Earth, humans fought against the aliens, humans lost, XCOM went underground, stayed underground for 20 years, assuming the aliens have generally the same abilities as they had in XCOM 2012, even though obviously I'm assuming that, but that would make sense, in quotation marks here. How the hell did XCOM go underground? These people can mind control. They can mind control the government that funded XCOM in the first place, all of them, including the guy in black, whatever his name is, he doesn't have a name. XCOM wouldn't be able to hide. These guys can mind control humans, any human, and supposedly these humans never found out about the whole mind controlling ability, or at least never studied it, so these humans have no psionics, which means they have no protection from mind control, which means how the hell did XCOM get away and hide for 20 years? Even if they did, why the hell do they have a giant fuck off battleship that can fly? How do you hide that? How did you build that? And if you store that, how the hell didn't you get nuked out of the sky the moment you store the battleship? There's no way that they are going to explain this in a way that makes sense. I haven't even heard the explanation yet, because I haven't given it, and yet you could rightfully point out I'm totally speculating, but it doesn't matter. There is not a way that they could explain this to make sense. There is no way you have a ship that size, with whatever flying capabilities that has, 20 years later, after getting your ass kicked, being underground. It makes, like, how do you hide a giant flying spaceship? And even if you could hide it, how did you get it? It's like, oh, we wanted XCOM, but now they're underground and they have to fight for the survival, and they don't even have enough ammo, so they gotta use the goddamn samurai. They also have a giant battleship, because we kinda didn't wanna be uncool, so you gotta be underground and fight the power, but also have the super awesome high-tech battleship. Thanks. It's like, I really see you care about the consistency of the universe here. As conclusive statements, how would I have written this? I wouldn't, but if I had to write XCOM 2 with the premise that we are fighting against aliens who have taken over the government, but we still want to have an awesome flying battleship, and we still want all the awesome cool technology, and this has to make sense within context of XCOM 2012, which is impossible. The best I can come up with is two possibilities. Either, at the very end of XCOM 2012, the volunteer, I don't know if he has a different name, the volunteer, whatever dude, joins the aliens. For whatever fucked up reason, he's like, oh, fuck humans, I joined the aliens. So they turn around, kill everyone in XCOM because the guy knows where XCOM's headquarters is, I mean, he shoots all his friends on the mission, and then they go and kill XCOM. Joins the aliens, and they subjugate Earth with the hope of finding someone as powerful as him, and that's why they stick around for 20 years, subjugating them, because they know they have the potential, they just haven't found more people like him. That would explain a lot of the plot holes. For example, I'm sure some XCOM soldiers would get away, which means XCOM would at least have some knowledge and some high-level technology, which would at least make it a little bit feasible that they have the superpower of battleship. And they would know more about the aliens, and the aliens have a reason to stick around. Because currently, if the humans lost in the first month or whatever, there would be no reason for them to stick around. That is honestly the best way you could have written this. But they've already said that's not how it's written, because they say, yeah, you lost in the first month, so fuck you. They didn't bother with that, but that was the best I could come up with. The second best that I could come up with is if you wanted to go the Terror of the Deep route and just make it a little bit silly. What if XCOM won the war, and then XCOM invents interdimensional space travel or whatever, and they're like, well, we won the war here, but let's save all the other universes where the aliens crush XCOM. And then they go over to the next universe with a giant fuck-off battleship, but then for whatever reason they can't travel back anymore, and they get stranded on Earth in a universe that was conquered by aliens. I don't know why the aliens would have stuck around, it still would make complete sense. But at least you would explain the fuck-off battleship, and you would explain why XCOM is so powerful, even though it doesn't have support of the governments or anyone in the world, because they come from another dimension. This would be really silly, but honestly, it still would make more sense than what they have. Because what they have is not going to make any sense. I promise you, this is not going to be explained. You can say I'm guessing, and yeah, I'm guessing for the most part. But no, this is not going to be explained. There's no way to explain this in such a way that it makes sense. If you go with the premise that this is XCOM 2012, 20 years later, and the humans lost within the first months, done. You wrote yourself into a corner. You're not gonna fix this. Goodbye, and have a good day.